A very good evening to all. This is CA Dipti Jain, founder and CEO, GyanStation, welcomes you all in today's very interesting session on how to write the will. वसीयत करने का सही तरीका, वसीयत कैसे बनवाएं, और अगर किसी वजह से हम वकील के बिना भी क्या हम वसीयत बना सकते, because in this COVID times where the time was so much unpredictable, many families जो मेन करता होते हैं वो चल बसे और बिना किसी विल के they have faced a lot of problems in transfer of the properties. तो कुछ ऐसे ही important points जैसे कि succession planning कैसे की जाए, will deed के क्या benefits है और इसे कैसे बनाएं, format and execution, और क्या हम nomination के द्वारा भी property transfer कर सकते हैं. To enlighten us on all these important issues, आज हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं मुंबई से सीए हिरल सुरेश शाह जी. On behalf of GyanStation and all the participants in today's GyanStation KBS 6 to 7 series, I welcome you, sir. And let me introduce our speaker. He is involved in consultancy and compliances of sales tax, GST, income tax matters for corporate and non-corporate areas, has performed statutory, concurrent audit, tax audit, stock audit, and revenue audits, internal audit of various banks and companies. Other than this activities, he is actively involved in many organizations. He is the career counselor in standing committee of WIRC of ICAI, Honorable Secretary of JCF, Jain Chartered Accountant Federation, and he is also the managing committee member of Goods and Service Tax Practitioner Association of Maharashtra. He had given paper presentation in 46th RRC of GSTPM at Indore, and many other study circles he is associated. He had also co-authored the book on taxation laws for LLP students along with Professor Prakash Mukal. Hiral ji, I welcome you all. Welcome you in today's session, and it's sheer pleasure to have you and to get enlightened with you on this very interesting topic, will deed. Yeah, you can start with the presentation.
Thank you, Dipti ji. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'll just start. Welcome friends. हम जहां पर भी हों, हमारी जो भी भाषाएं, हम हर भाषा में, हम इंग्लिश में ये चीज बता सकते हैं, हम हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं, गुजराती में बात कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ये एक टॉपिक ऐसा है कि जिसके ऊपर हमें ध्यान देना है, हमें समझना है कि विल बनाना है, वो उसके अंदर कोई भी दूसरा रास्ता नहीं है. ओके, वेलकम फ्रेंड्स. नाउ wills, where there is a will there is a way. Let me put it very firm that way कि जहां रहा वहां, जहां चाहा वहां रहा. अभी will, first and foremost, let us understand, let us think, why is succession planning important? हमें क्यों उत्तराधिकार कानून को समझना है, वसीयत को क्यों समझना है, वसीयत क्यों बनानी है? इट इज हमारे बाद हमारे जो एसेट्स हैं, हमारी सारी जो मिल्कत है, उसको हमारे उत्तराधिकारी को, हमारे बाद किसको मिलना है, किसको देना है, वो स्मूथली जा सके. उसके लिए जो जिसको हमें देना है उसको प्रॉपर्टी मिल सके और वो उसको प्रॉपरली कंट्रोल कर सके. हमारे देश में कानूनों में कहीं पर बहुत सारी तकलीफें हैं, opaque succession laws is a big problem in our country. सब इसको ऐसे करना चाहिए था, उसको वैसे करना चाहिए था. There are very high chances कि गवर्नमेंट नेक्स्ट बजट के अंदर शायद इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स ले आए, एस्टेट ड्यूटी ले आए. लाइफ सबकी अनसर्टेन है. हम आज बोल सकते हैं कि अरे अभी क्या, कितने जन 50 की उम्र के आसपास, 40 की उम्र के आसपास के भी लोग कोरोना में गुजर गए हैं. हम इस चीज को एक 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 माइंडसेट आ गया है कि अरे कोरोना है तो ये विल का टॉपिक, विल के बारे में सुन के ऐसा लगता है कि कल हम मर जाएंगे. नहीं, लाइफ अनसर्टेन है. लाइफ हर एक के लिए अनसर्टेन है. आप हो या हम, हर एक के लिए वो अनसर्टेन है. पर हाँ, एक ही चीज सर्टेन है, एवरीबडी हैज टू डाई. कभी ना कभी ये जिंदगी खत्म होने वाली है. वो एक शाश्वत सत्य है, उसको कोई बदल नहीं सकता है. सक्सेशन प्लानिंग क्यों करनी है? लिटिगेशन ना हो. मुकदमेबाजी में ज्यादातर बच्चों की लाइफ चली जाती है. नहीं, कई बार हमने सुना हुआ है कि 10-10 करोड़ इनहेरिटेड हुए हैं, मिले हैं 10-10 करोड़ रुपए, लेकिन वो 25,000 की चीज के लिए झगड़ रहे. क्यों करना है हमें? बहुत सारी चीज है कि मतलब हर एक को विल ना बनाने के लिए बहुत सारे बहाने आ जाते हैं. एक मेजर बहाना हो जाता है कि अरे विल, why do we need to make a will? It is only for millionaires. वो खाली बिरला, टाटा, अंबानी वो लोग ही बनाते हैं, हमें क्या जरूरत है, हम कौन से अबजोपति है. नहीं, ये एक गलत धारणा है जिसको चेंज करना है. इस चीज को अगर हम प्रोफेशनल है तो हमें दूसरों को समझाना है, हमारे क्लाइंट्स को समझाना है कि ये चीज बहुत गलत है. ये मेजर चीज है जो इतने सालों से हमारी प्रैक्टिस, मतलब उसमें हम हर तरह से सुन रहे हैं, लोगों के बारे में सुनते रहते हैं कि कहाँ पर तकलीफें आती है. तो यही बहाने होते हैं. फिर जो डेथ, when somebody thinks about death, तो in itself it becomes a very unpleasant thought. It becomes a very unpleasant thought कि अरे विल बनाएंगे, कुछ गड़बड़ हो जाएगी, हम मर जाएंगे. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होने वाला है. विल बनाने से आपका, आपकी डेथ का कोई मतलब नहीं है. दोनों अलग अलग चीजें हैं. लोगों को क्या रहता है कि मतलब विल तो कभी जब भी डेथ बेड पे पड़े हैं ना, तो तभी हॉस्पिटल में ही विल बनाते हैं. हॉस्पिटल में वकील को बुलाएंगे, जैसे हिंदी पिक्चर में हम देखते हैं, हॉस्पिटल में वो बैठ के विल बना रहा है. हिंदी पिक्चर अलग चीज है, हम हॉस्पिटल भी जाने वाले हैं कि नहीं वो भी हमें नहीं पता है. विल बनाना है. लोगों का एक और बड़ा डर होता है कि जिस दिन हम विल बना देंगे, वसीयत बना लेंगे, तो तभी से हमारा ये हो जाएगा, it will, sorry, the moment we
You can
prepare a
continue
will.
in Hindi or English. You can use the mix of language, whatever is comfortable for you.
Fine.
Thank you.
So we have one thought. The day we prepare a will is prepared today, we think that we will lose control over the assets from tomorrow. To whomever we are giving away the property, today the will is prepared, tomorrow we will lose control over those assets. No, that is a fallacy. We need to think about it. There is nothing like that. जब तक इंसान जिंदा है तब तक वो प्रॉपर्टीज, वो एसेट सिर्फ उसी के रहेंगे. सिर्फ मरने के बाद वो जिसको देना है उसको मिलेगा. Family discussions are very awkward when it comes to talking about the will. Everybody starts thinking, why my father or mother giving more to me, more less to my brother, more to my brother, more to my sister. All these things, these discussions are always very awkward when it comes to the family. However, such discussions, if possible, if you feel that discussions are okay, you can discuss. However, if it is a point that, okay, I need not discuss with my family, it is not necessary to discuss things with the family. It is absolutely all right not to discuss things with the family. If it is discussed, it is the best. However, if it is not, then also it is okay. Hesitancy in sharing private wealth data with consultants. When we say that it is, we are having a discussion, say a client comes to us and says, I want to prepare the will. The point is that the client would have to tell us each and everything, the person who is making the will. There are different options. Each person can prepare their own will as well. Please don't think that everything you have to give it to a consultant. You will have to appoint a chartered accountant or an advocate. No, that is not the case. You can prepare the will on your own. Don't hire a consultant. But yes, if you are hiring a consultant, you will have to share private data with the consultant as well. Expensive and complicated. For expensive, I would say no. After the lecture is over, I would feel that each person can prepare their own will without the help of any consultant. So there is no case of expenditure at all. Expenditure is absolute zero. Not expensive. Yes, if you consult a consultant, definitely there would be professional fees involved, but it is, believe me, it is not expensive. Even if you just think that it is expensive today, without preparing a will, the expense would be much, much, much greater, and the complications would be much greater if the will is not prepared. So keep that in mind. Tendency to procrastinate, as it is not time bound. What happens? Yes, I'm busy today. There is income tax deadline today. There is audit deadline tomorrow. There is this, there is that. Some way or the other, we try to push the things because it is not time bound. If you don't file the income tax return on time, you will have to pay penalty. But if you do not prepare a will, there is no penalty. Therefore, we tend to say, "Arey ha, hota hai, chalta hai." That kind of an attitude. But that is not correct. You think over it as it is time bound. You are supposed to do it today itself. You have to work on it accordingly. One should make a will so that you yourself decide. Will means wish. If we see the dictionary meaning of a will, it is your own wish. So you decide that who would get the part and parcel of your estate. It reduces family conflicts later on. You can have absolutely, if the person reads, okay, my father wanted to give me this. Simple. Don't give any chances for people to think, for your legal head to think. And if somebody starts thinking, there are people who would pour in things into their mind, and that would bring in conflicts within the family. Transfer to non-relatives. This is a very important point. At times, it so happens that one person wants to give some amount after his death to some non-relative. Some, maybe some servant who has served the person for his or her life, or some distant relative who has actually taken care of the person during the lifetime. If a will is prepared, the amount can be given to non-relatives also. You can provide for charity out of it. Yes, a person during the lifetime had kept the money for himself. Now After the death, the person wants to transfer it to somebody else. So that is absolutely possible. To donate the amount to anybody else is absolute possible. Life interest is also possible. During the lifetime, one says, okay, I want my ex daughter who is unmarried, her life interest should be taken care of. She is unmarried. There would, after a certain point of time, there would be nobody to take care of her. So it can be mentioned that during her lifetime, nothing can be done to this property. Such things can also be mentioned in the will. There can be conditional bequests also. You do certain thing, then only certain amount would come to you. Such things are possible if the will is made. After the death of a person, if a will is not prepared, it is known as intestate succession. That is, बिना वसीयत नामे के transfer होना assets. So assets can be transferred after death or even during the lifetime by means of family trust or conditional trusts. We stick ourselves to the will concept. However, if there are two things, if we want to understand why to make a will, we need to understand and take into account that what if the will is not prepared. So the answer to that is, if the will is not prepared, it goes, the assets are distributed as per Hindu Succession Act. Now, whom does Hindu Succession Act? Hindu Succession Act, if the will is not made, then it goes as per Hindu Succession Act. If the will is made, then it goes as per Indian Succession Act. Whom does Hindu Succession Act apply to? Hindu Succession Act applies to Hindu per se, as we understand. Then it goes to the Jain community is also within the ambit of Hindus and Hindu Succession Act. The Sikh community also is considered. The Buddhist community also is considered as Hindus only for the purpose of the Succession Act. When no will is made, it is known as intestate succession. Now, intestate succession, that is without the will, it goes as per Hindu Succession Act, as I said. That distribution between a Hindu male dying and Hindu female dying is different. So, Hindu male, if he dies, then in any case, if the person dies without the will, then there is an act which says you distribute it accordingly, distribute the assets accordingly. Now, what is that accordingly? That accordingly is, there are first class of relatives, class 1 relatives, nazdiki rishtedar, close relatives. Then is class 2 relatives, a bit distant. If there are no class 1 relatives, then it goes to the class 2 relatives. If there are no class 2 relatives, then it goes further. Then it goes agnates, cognates. There are specific relations which are mentioned. Then it goes to them. Those relations who are the class 1 and class 2, those are different if a Hindu male is dying, and it is different for a Hindu female when she dies. So to just take in a nutshell, what if a Hindu male dies? So his class 1 here includes son, daughter, widow. Now the Hindu male is not there, so his wife, mother, son of a predeceased son, son of a predeceased son, daughter of a predeceased son, daughter of the predeceased daughter. So all these people are known as class 1 relatives. Now, so it is just explained in this chart a bit. First part, mother, wife, son, daughter. If the son is not there, then his wife, his daughter, his son, and it goes accordingly. However, it is so then that is class 1. मतलब नजदीकी रिश्तेदार खत्म हो गए। सो अभी आते हैं दूर के रिश्तेदार, थोड़े दूर के रिश्तेदार। अभी अगर वन वाले कोई नहीं है, इफ देर इज नो वन इन क्लास वन, then it goes to class 2. Class 2 consists of father, sons, daughters, son, sons, daughters, daughter. So your first class 1 are not there, none of the class 1 are there, then only it goes to class 2 legal hair. So the order and succession, it is there as per section 9 to section 13 of the Hindu Succession Act. But in a nutshell, if we say, then it goes as per first class 1. If none of the class 1 here are present, then it goes as per class 2. I'll be sharing this presentation, so these things can be seen. In case of a Hindu female who is dying, then it goes as per the property which she has got from her father. See, these facts are based, this law also is based on the age-old the customs, the Indian customs, wherein people have started understanding, okay, what is the thing? People understand that the female does not work, so she would inherit only, she would only inherit things. She would not be having her own income. So that is what the predominance is. So property inherited from her father, property inherited from her husband or father-in-law. So there are different distributions there. So if we come back to the topic of will, so now we understand that if the will is not prepared, then there are these many issues, I would say, wherein what happens is the distribution is very ambiguous. Who would get what, how much, to explain what is the relation, to bring in the relation on record, all these things are difficult. Therefore, we need a will which says, which defines everything. We basically want everything to be predefined, that yes, this is the matter. The will comes into effect after the death of the person making it. It is very clear. Before the death of the person, the will does not come into effect. There are a few legal terminologies which we need to understand just in a nutshell. So the testator, the person who is preparing the will, वसीयतनामा बनाने वाला इंसान, उसको testator कहते हैं. The witnesses who would be signing are the attesting witnesses. The property which is distributed is known as the estate. The person who would be in charge, who would administer the asset, the estate after the testator dies, is known as the executor. The person to whom the entire estate is to be given is the beneficiary or the legatee. It is the major benefits of making a will that all your documents are kept at one place. No, otherwise you need to think, Arey, where is the sale deed? I don't know what is the exact property, some gift deed, transfer deed. In the will, everything would be mentioned. So it becomes very easy for one to understand that, okay, these are the properties. No stamp duty is levied on the will. One of the major myths that people have is that the will has to be on a stamp paper. A will only on a stamp paper is valid, otherwise it is not valid. It is a very big myth. It is not true. There is no stamp duty leviable on the will. A will can be on a simple piece of paper. Not necessary that it has to be on a stamp paper. If somebody says, I want to write it on a stamp paper, well and good. No problem, but that stamp paper would have the value of a normal paper only. There is nothing like a stamp paper for preparing the will. The properties of the testator continue to remain in his hands during his lifetime without worrying about its distribution. जब तक वसीयत करने वाला जिंदा है, तब तक उसके पास ही प्रॉपर्टी रहेगी. There is no question of distribution. A will acts as inventory of all your assets at one single place. The administration of the will goes to a person, an identified person whom you feel you are confident that yes, this person can handle it. It remains with that person only. It is always necessary that it has to be the last will. If n number of wills are prepared, 4 will बनाए हैं, तो 4 में से जिसके ऊपर आखिरी डेट होगी वही will valid गिना जाएगा. Last will is valid. The wills prepared before the last will in itself become null and void. Yes, testator can create a trust for anybody, for a minor. If one thinks yes, the kid is a minor, then a trust can be created for the benefit of the minor. If the will is prepared, you don't have to get a legal heir certificate or a succession certificate from the court. You are out of that hassle totally. The testator can create charge over property for daughter's maintenance and marriage. As I said, some condition can be whatever condition you want to mention, you can mention that. Anyone can prepare a will. There is no restriction who can prepare, who cannot prepare. Every person who is not a minor, doesn't have any mental defects, is not under intoxication, is not ill in the sense that mental illness. Even a deaf or a dumb can make a will. Perfect state of mind, yes. A deaf person cannot be said that the person is not in a perfect state of mind. So deaf, dumb, blind, anybody who can contract, who can sign a contract with anybody can prepare a will for himself or herself. A will becomes invalid if it is obtained by fraud, coercion, importunity. It is absolutely void. If one says, the example, if you see that I will shoot, Mr. A says that I will shoot Mr. B. If Mr. C doesn't do this, that is invalid and that is void ab initio. There are different types of wills: privileged will, unprivileged will, joint will, mutual will. However, and over and above all these, we can say a will simpliciter can we'll come to will simpliciter, the general will as well. A privileged will. Privileged will is a will which can be prepared only by soldiers. Okay, so we keep that aside. Unprivileged will, that is known as a general will, which each of us prepares, and that is what we would be talking about. A joint will. A joint will is a will wherein two or more people, two persons prepare a will jointly, that it would take effect only after both of them have died. However, such thing, the joint will suffers from certain technical difficulties. Therefore, we generally, on a practical front, though legally preparation of joint will is valid, is totally valid. However, for certain purposes, like obtaining the probate during the lifetime, there are difficulties wherein, because of which we suggest that do not prepare a joint will, because that will create problem to the other counterpart after the death. Mutual will, two or more persons mutually, they say, okay, I will give you this, you after I die, it will go to you. If you die, it will come to me. It is very similar. So mutual will can also be prepared. However, it is, one would say that preparation of mutual will also creates certain difficulties. If prepare a unprivileged separate will for each person, that is the best way to go ahead. And let's keep things very simple. Our purpose of going through the will is that we don't want to go into litigation. We don't want problems later on. So if the will is there, a normal will simpliciter, simple will है, तो सारे प्रॉब्लम्स ही खत्म हो जाती है. क्यों कॉम्प्लिकेशंस क्रिएट कर रहे हैं? People say, sir, give us a format of a will. There is no format of a will. If you want something simple, Google Baba है, Google किया मिल जाता है. However, there are certain things to it. So there is no specific format. ऐसा नहीं है कि फॉर्म लिया, फॉर्म को फिल कर दिया. No, it is not that way. You can prepare a will the way you want, in whichever format you want. However, the certain things which I'm coming to, which are necessary in the will, include that, then do it in whichever format you like. The will can be prepared in any language. It is not necessary it has to be prepared in English only. I don't understand English. I only understand Hindi. I only understand Gujarati. I only understand Marathi. I can prepare it the way, the language which I like, the language which is understood by the testator. वसीयत बनाने वाले को जो भाषा समझ में आती है, उसी भाषा में will बनाएंगे. It is the best. Marathi, Gujarati, yes, whichever language you are comfortable in. However, there are certain lacunas, I would say. In the state of Maharashtra, the registrar does not register a Gujarati will. He only registers a will which is there in English, Hindi or Marathi language. So it depends upon each state to state that the registrar, which languages are comfortable for registration. Though even a Gujarati will, if a person prepares a Gujarati will, there are formats of translation and getting it registered, which is absolutely valid. The intention of the testator should be known. That is what I'm saying. It should be very clear. It should not be vague. It should not be uncertain. Be very clear. Be very simple. There is no requirement of preparing it in very high level language or very high level format. No, keep it very, very, very simple, which even a layman who does not have any knowledge of law, if he reads it, he would be able to understand, and there are no interpretational issues. Now, what are the requirements? As I said, that one can prepare the will on their own. Okay, if it is prepared on their own, what are the requirements? Name and address of the testator. We want to understand from the will that whom does this will belong to. मैंने will बनाया तो पता तो चलना चाहिए ये सीए हिरल शाह का will है या किसी और का will है या किसी और का will है. So how do we define one person? A person is defined by the name, the address of the testator. These days, we again include Aadhaar number. Aadhaar, so everything gets covered. Each of us is one number, just one plain number. So along with your name and address, mention the Aadhaar number, your income tax PAN number if required. It is absolutely, you have to define yourself. Who is preparing the will? Mention the fact that you are preparing it voluntarily. किसी की भी जोर जबरदस्ती में नहीं बना रहे. You appoint executor, you can appoint multiple executors. We would suggest appoint at least 2 or more executors, depending upon the requirement. Now, Vivek ji had a query that whether family member can be an executor or not. Yes, a family member can be appointed as an executor. There is no bar on it. Mention who are your family members, who are the legal heir. You have, it is just, these are the outlines. If these are followed, you don't require any professional to draft your will. So enumerate your family members therein, list out all the properties, all. It is very important to use the word all. Whichever property, generally we get queries, sir, मैं मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के लिए खाली फ्लैट के लिए विल बना दूं, मेरे को और किसी चीज के लिए नहीं चाहिए. नो, देयर इज नथिंग लाइक विल फॉर अ स्पेसिफिक प्रॉपर्टी. A will is a document for all your properties, and then you mention that whom is the property to be bequeathed to and what share. This property is to be given to this person, this to be given to this person, and in this proportion. So that takes care of everything. If certain legal hair are excluded, always mention the reason why you are excluding them. It becomes very important. What happens is the Indian mindset, the typical mindset, okay, the father is giving assets to the son. So after my death, everything will go to my son. Does not mention anything has a daughter also. So we would suggest that mention why you are not giving the property to the daughter. Why do we need to mention that? So that it becomes very clear that the father at the time of preparing of will had thought about the daughter as well. Though he said, okay, I don't want to give anything to the daughter, that is absolutely fine. That is totally his wish. But it should not give an impression that the father had forgotten about the daughter totally. How are assets to be distributed? There have to be two witnesses to the will. Always the two out of the two witnesses that I'm talking about, we have a query that whether family members can be witnesses. I would suggest against that. Never have the witnesses as the family members. Why? Because that can give a different impression altogether. It can be said, okay, the person to whom the assets are given, he himself got the will prepared without proper knowledge. It was just signed, and he himself is the witness. So we don't want any kind of litigation, any kind of problem. So witnesses should not be family members. Always have residual clause therein, where these are the properties today. I will give you my own example. The will was prepared at the age of 33. Now there are n number of assets that are acquired after preparation of will. So with the residuary clause into picture, all the assets that are acquired after the date of preparing of the will also are covered under the will itself. Many a times we have seen that people tend to forget this, tend to forget mentioning about the residuary clause. That is very incorrect. That can create a problem later on. The language of the will should be simple, clear and unambiguous. Absolute simple. कोई बड़ी चीजें लिखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. So now the will is, the basic requirements of the will were taken care of. So with these things, if these things are there in the picture, the will becomes a valid will. Okay, now how to go about it? The testator shall sign or affix his mark on the will. Obviously, how would somebody come to know that this person has only prepared the will? So I am a literate person. I will sign and affix any of his mark. So it is not necessary that I will just sign. Even if an educated person puts a thumb impression on each of the page, still it is valid. But no, let's not get into too much of complication. So it is better that each page of the will is signed by the person who has prepared the will. Attested by 2 or more witnesses, not less than 2, minimum 2. Those witnesses are just witness to the person that he has prepared the will. The witness is not supposed to know what is there in the will. Okay, so let's be very clear. The witness will not know. He will just know, okay, this person is signing. He has signed in front of me. That's it. In the presence, it is signed. That's it. Nothing else. Because we have that fear. कह रहे वो witness को पता चल जाएगा मैंने क्या लिखा है बिल में. उसकी चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Who can be a attesting witness? Anybody 18 years or above, reliable, responsible person. Always advisable to have a young person as a witness, because the chances of, if we say first in first out, so पहले जो दुनिया में आया है जनरली वो पहले जाएगा, तो यंग वाले को रखो तो आपके बाद वो तो एटलीस्ट होगा. Sorry. Okay, so have young witnesses. Avoid the beneficiary to be a testing witness, as I said. So anybody can be your witness. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, all are absolutely perfect. So the person, the testator, would prepare the will himself or through the lawyer. Absolutely, 2 witnesses are, that is what is required. It is necessary to mention the date. It becomes absolutely necessary. I told you the reason as well. It is necessary because the last will is valid. So how would somebody know which is the last will? Therefore, the date is very important. Sign on with using normal signature. If a person uses 2 or more signatures, so mention all the signatures over there. It is not necessary to have the Aadhaar card of the witnesses. It is not necessary to have the Aadhaar card of any of the executors or stuff. However, it is always advisable. Everywhere these days, everybody has an Aadhaar number. So better to mention the Aadhaar number, so that even at a later point of time, what happens is, today a person has signed as a witness. Tomorrow you shift your residence. Now the court says, get this witness. You have shifted your residence, say to some other city. That person has moved to some other city. Now how will you find the person? So these days, with the use of Aadhaar number, at least you can trace the person if required. So witnesses should mention their name, addresses, jobs on the will. Get a doctor's certificate to state that the person is of a sound mind. It is advised to get the will notarized before me notarized with a notary public. So who is the executor? Executor is the person after the death of the testator, the entire estate goes to the executor, and then the executor will divide it amongst the legal heir. If a probate is required for the will, the probate can only be granted to the executor and not to anybody else. Executor, so as I said, the duties, okay, to get the assets. He's a responsible, accountable person. He will take the assets in his hand. Whatever expenses are there, he would spend those expenses. If there are any debts, he would pay off the debts, and then he would get whatever is left, he would distribute it and apply for probate wherever necessary. Who can be a beneficiary? Anybody can be a beneficiary. Whomsoever the person wants to give away the assets, that person can be the beneficiary. To mention illegal things, void bequest. If you kill this person, then you will get this money. That is wrong. Those are void. However, condition is possible. Okay, if you pay this amount to this person, or if you do his work, then you will get the things. That is possible. But illegal things are void ab initio. Impossible conditions are also absolutely void. Morality has to be seen. So void bequests are void ab initio, not afterwards. It is at point one itself, because that is the basic principle of law. What can be distributed by the will? Whatever you own, you can distribute. Everything, your movable properties, immovable properties, everything can be distributed. I cannot mention in my will that Gateway of India has to be given to this person, or Mahakaleshwar temple is to be given to this person. That does not belong to me. Whatever belongs to me, only that can be disposed by the will. Tenancy rights cannot be bequeathed. Like in the state of Maharashtra, you have the Maharashtra Rent Control Act. In that act, mentions how the tenancy rights are to be distributed. So you cannot say in your will that it has to be distributed this way. However, we firmly mention, even if it is not, you cannot bequeath it, still we advise mention about tenancy rights as well. Because tomorrow, if there is any change, that can be taken care of in the will. It cannot be bequeathed. Okay, that line item becomes void. Doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. Registration. So we have a few queries wherein registration is in question. Vijay ji, Manish ji, everything. So, sorry. Registration. So, under the Registration Act 1908, Section 18 deals with documents which have to be registered compulsory. However, will is not a part of that list. Therefore, it can be clearly concluded that registration of a will is not compulsory. It is totally optional. However, we advise to register the will so that it cannot be tampered with, it cannot be destroyed, mutilated, stolen, or lost. What happens is, one person believes, I have a firm belief that my kids will have a very big fight after I die. And if the will comes in the hand of one of the persons, he will take it, he will tear it if he's not getting his share and throw it away. So then if the will is thrown away, then there is no question of it being given to anybody else getting the amount. So in that case, where there is very much, one has a very serious issue that there will be a problem after my death, then yes, get the will registered. Will registration is optional, is not compulsory. If somebody says, no, this is not registered will, so I will not consider it, it is a big fault, and the person can be even taken to the court of law for saying such a thing, that this is not a registered will, so I will not consider it. It is wrong that registration is compulsory. No, registration is not compulsory. It is very, very clear that registration of a will is not compulsory. Registered will is also equally valid. Registered and unregistered will both are equally valid. There is no disparity between the two. Whatever is mentioned in a registered will, if the same thing is mentioned in the unregistered will as well, both have the same value, both are at par. It is 100% valid. alteration of a will. If after a particular period, I feel that I want to add some assets, I want to add somebody, I want to add some condition, everything can be done by way of adding a codicil to it. So you add something as good as a supplementary. You can add a supplementary stating, okay, this is also a will. This is also a part of the will. It is absolutely valid. However, generally what we say is, rather than adding codicils, change the will in entirety. Say, for example, you feel you have got the will prepared by a professional. He has charged an X amount. Now, tomorrow I want to change the will. So simple, take that will, change whichever clause you want to change and sign and get it done. Why do you want to create a complication by adding a codicil to it? Though codicil is absolutely valid and alteration can be done by the codicil or execution of a new will. If a new will comes into picture, the old will goes out. It is absolutely up to the person whether to add a codicil or execute a new will altogether. So whichever is the latest will. Achha, there was one query that had come once. One person says that, okay, I have prepared a will, say on 1st January 2020, got it registered on 2nd January 2020. Now, on the 24th of February 22, I want to prepare a new will. The will earlier prepared in January 2020 was registered. Now I want to prepare a new will and it is unregistered. So which one would hold true? There is a myth in the mind that the registered will hold true. No, whichever is prepared later will only hold good. Not necessary. There is both are at par. When both are at par, the latest one is valid. So there is nothing like कि registered will है तो इसका value ज़्यादा है, वो unregistered है तो value कम है. Absolutely not. Probate. Probate is necessary for assets lying in certain areas. It is not a requirement all across the country. It is required in the original jurisdiction of the the Bombay High Court, the Madras High Court, in the state of West Bengal. It is mandatory. However, it is not mandatory all across the country. What is a probate? A probate is basically a certification, I would say. The court is certifying that this will which is prepared is okay. So it is just as good as a true copy given by a certified copy given by the High Court that the will is correct and will is final. So after the probate, after the copy, the will is probated, then one cannot challenge the will further. Nomination. This is a query which is there in most of the cases. See, a nominee is just a caretaker, is just a trustee. So now we had one query which stated that nomination is already done in respect of an immovable property. Do we need to include that immovable property in will? What will be a good practice? So the fact is that immovable property is okay, you have nominated some person in the immovable property. That person will get the property in his or her name, which is to be given to the beneficiary who is mentioned in the will. The nominee is only a caretaker. Nominee does not become the owner. Though the name of the nominee may be transferred in the share certificate if it is a society, of the immovable property, say share certificates are transferred in the name of the person. However, the nominee will not become the owner. He or she would just be a caretaker, would just be a trustee, and the real owner would be the person to whom the will mentions that this property is to be given. Be very, very, very clear in that. Any asset, any class of asset wherein a nominee is mentioned, nominee is just the caretaker, nominee is not the owner. Please, this is one of the greatest myths that we come across. अरे nomination किया हुआ है, हमको will की जरूरत नहीं है, वो तो मिल जाएगा उसको. No, nominee will not become the owner. The another problem is the myth with the societies. The society owner knows, अरे हाँ, ये secretary knows this person is the owner. Okay, is the nominee is mentioned and knows, हाँ, this person is the son, daughter, wife, whatever. So I will transfer and give it. The secretary himself would not be knowing that nominee does not become the owner. So out of his ignorance, the practice is going on for years together, which is very wrong. The secretary or the committee would be personally liable if they transfer, if they allow the nominee to alienate the property further. The nominee can use it, but it has to finally go to the beneficiary whose name is mentioned in the will. One person cannot say, yes, one person cannot say that okay, this will is not required, only nomination would do. No, absolutely not. Remove this thought out of the mind that such a thing is legally valid. Practically at times it is happening that to the nominee the society is transferring the documents, but that is not true. It is incorrect. It is against the law. So that is very, very important to know the difference between nomination and will. Will holds supreme right over everything else. So just a summary of what we said. Appoint executors. Executors, you need not show the will to the executors at the time of executing the will. Let him see after your death. Identify the persons. Identify yourself in the will. Have at least 2 witnesses, 2 good witnesses. Registration is optional. Have alternate beneficiaries is also possible, that if I'm giving it to my wife after my death, I say everything is to be given to my wife. However, I can say in case my wife predeceases me, because life is uncertain, so then it is to be given to my children in this proportion. That is possible. Do not forget to mention the residuary clause. What about the assets which come to you after preparation of will, or you might have forgotten to mention it in the will? That also has to be taken care of. After preparation of will, after the person is no more, yes, executor will take the assets in their hand. If a probate is required, probate would be done. If the assets are given by way of will, there is no income tax, there is no stamp duty in the country, anywhere across the globe, across the country, there is no stamp duty, no income tax. All the best. Do prepare your will and relax. Thank you. Any other queries? You can ask me directly or through the chat, whatever Dipti ji is comfortable.
Wonderful session, Hiralji. I think you have taken the queries with your presentation only, but if you see, can I have, okay, that we will share with you.
It's
so
available
what is
on
the process of registration? It's also, yeah, it's visible on
the registration process is pretty simple. Wherever, in whichever area you are staying, your residential address is there. Say, for example, that residence, you want to sell it to somebody else. So if you want to sell it to somebody else, you will have to go to the registration office, the sub-registrar in your area. So you know, okay, this is the sub-registrar. You prepare the will, you keep the doctor's certificate and everything. Take it, go to the registrar and get it registered. The process is pretty simple and it is not time consuming. It is not expensive at all. Say even in case of equity shares or mutual funds, bank accounts, if you have given, you have mentioned anything in that, anything is, the nomination is mentioned in that. So even in that case, it is always to be seen that what is mentioned in the will only hold good. The beneficiaries would be the actual ultimate owners, not the nominees. Coincidentally, in most of the cases, it is so that the nominees are there and the beneficiaries are one and the same person. However, the thing is that the beneficiaries would become the final owners, not the nominees. Here, I would like to bring one small thing over here. These days, one message is circulating very widely that there is an amendment, there is a Supreme Court judgment wherein nominee becomes the ultimate owner. No need for this succession certificate, no need for that. Nominee is only the owner. That message is absolutely incorrect. That message was valid only for that particular case. It is not the law, and that the nominee becomes the final owner. So please be aware that WhatsApp messages are not always correct. Thank you.
Any other queries? Yes, we will provide the PPT. This question, if someone dies without a will, so will the daughter get the share?
Yes, Jugalji, absolutely the daughter will get the share, because daughter is there as class 1 legal heir. So if the person dies without the will, daughter will get the equal share. Each of the persons, say a person who died is survived by the widow, that is his wife, one son, one daughter. Say it is just 3 of them. So what the thought process is that if something happens to the male, everything goes to the wife. No, it will be divided into 3 equal parts, one for the widow, one for the son, one for the daughter who are survived by that person. So daughter will get equal share. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of GyanStation. Dipti ji is doing a very good job of encouraging knowledge amongst us. Gnan is very important. That is what we are all standing here for.
Thank you. Please do subscribe our Telegram channel also, so that we can share easily. You stay connected with us to get all the updates about the upcoming webinars at GyanStation. Very soon we are planning a 10 days session on GST. With the best speakers and good faculties we are going to invite. A 10-day session will be conducted, and the timing again, it's going to be very comfortable. We are going to plan evening time after 8 p.m. That's what in the cards. So, and do join us, our MS Excel program, which we are going to organize from 1st of March. We are launching that. Link will be shared soon. So please do join that MS Excel program, a 6 days program from basics to advanced Excel. We are covering it. So stay tuned with GyanStation for more such sessions. 6 to 7 GyanStation. Hidal, we can stop sharing the screen, please.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Hiral ji had given us a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure that all the participants who have joined us through this Zoom meeting and also from watching us live on YouTube have enriched, enlightened, and got the insights, all the major and minor points related with will. And thank you, Hiral, for taking this session. We would like to have you more on GyanStation. Thank you. Sure. And 6 to 7, GyanStation KBS is going to continue its journey of imparting knowledge from Monday to Friday. Going through this journey, tomorrow, 25th, we are going to have session in understanding the persona of person through handwriting. Romal Surana, she is the graphologist. She is going to take the session how we can understand the persona of a person, personality of a person by going through the handwriting she is also in the board of many banks where she helped the bank managers and bank persons to understand the legal agreements. So this is going to be a very different, unique kind of topic which we are coming up with. So please do join us tomorrow again at the same time, 6 to 7, signature reading. And also this handwriting helps in healing many diseases, which and changing our own personality, behavior, and nature. And of course, it helps in understanding the behavior and nature of our kids, children also, and how we can help them to groom. Okay. And on 28th February, that is on Monday, we are coming up with the topic cryptocurrency, legal aspects and taxation, which is again going to be taken by CA Abhishek Jain from Delhi. He is going to enlighten us on this topic, which is after this budget 2022 has become very important. So thank you all participants. Special thanks to Hiral for joining us today. Stay tuned with us. Thank you. Here we end our today's meeting.